Most people, when they think about preparing a garden, they only think about, oh, I just need a tiller and some seeds, like so. It's a little bit of a work. You use more than that. So I'm gonna go in this video. I'm going to talk to you about some tips and what to use and what not to use. Probably more of what to use than what not to use. But first we'll start by a tiller. Now, when selecting your tiller, you got to accommodate how big is your garden. Mine, it's a little bit of a football field. It's probably way down there at the end. It's probably about 50, 60 feet. Down here, it's probably about 15, 20. So you gotta judge, hey, how big is my garden gonna be? My garden, what I use is a Craftsman dual direction twine walk behind tiller. Because it's walk behind, I don't have to worry about pulling it back and pushing it forward and getting it stuck. Now, if you're going to do a small garden, let's say you're making tomatoes or in a residential area, now you might want something like this. This is a small little garden. This is for my tomatoes. Now, what you're going to want for this is probably, you can either get, if you have a weed eater, you probably get a attachment for that. Either that, or you get one of them two-stroke, small little walk behind, not walk behind, but you know, weed eaters. It's like a weed eater tiller, but you know, it's just a solid engine on it. Small little two-stroke. So, and that's when you're gonna make your rows. When making your rows, you're gonna at least want to go through the garden 2 times. So remember, that's 2 times. The first one is just to till the ground and break it up like this one. The second one is to make the rows for planting. Now, as you can see, oh, it fell over, don't matter. As you can see, my garden, how huge it is, you can imagine how much of a pain it was to be 2 rows. So if you're doing a bigger garden, I would probably recommend a versatile garden or tractor. So I have a utility tractor that I have permission to use, and I can use it to till that back field, which I might do. I'm not really too sure. You know, that's the next thing. If you're going to be tilling an area, make sure you know exactly where you want it before you go. Because you don't want to be the guy who goes through a garden and then sits there and complains about it. Oh man, I should have made it bigger. I should have made it smaller. You know, I didn't realize I was going to, you know, have to plant this much, you know. That's another thing when you're, well, we'll talk about it at the end. BI. And so the next thing you want to talk about is planting. So I have an Earthway Precision Garden Seeder, and it works pretty good. So I haven't had any problems with it, and I don't think I ever will, hopefully. Now, it is made of plastic and aluminum, but it weighs hardly anything. I mean, you could pick this up with your pinky and you'd be like, what am I holding? I don't even know. Because it's that light. You can carry this thing through the yard and you won't even know. So, I recommend it for bigger gardens. Like I said, smaller gardens, you know, weed eater and stuff. I would suggest, you know, probably not getting one. And probably getting a garden stick. Like, you can get a stick or something. I know they sell them in stores. They have some sort of like little thing, and you can drop the seed in the hole and everything. Either that, you can get one of them push stick things that you push a hole in the ground, you put your seed in there, done deal, covered up, and go on to the next one. This one, it's basically semi-automatic. You just have to push it down the row, and it spins a belt, goes into the thing, it rotates it, and seed drops down that little chute right there, and goes through the splitter right here, and basically goes on out down the road where you want it to. So that's one thing you want to consider, is that for a bigger garden like this, because that's what I use. I mean, if I was planting this by hand, I mean, I'd be here for probably like 2 or 3 hours. I mean, planting it with that, I was done with this garden in less than, I think, about 40 minutes. So that's how good it is, and that's how much efficient it is to use one like this. And that's the next thing you're gonna want to talk about. There's a seed packet down there. You're gonna want to talk about seeds. Now, depending on what type of seeds you use, corn, watermelon, they're gonna take up rows. So usually you're gonna want to plan before planting. Once you get your rows and everything done, you're gonna want to go by it and say, hey, I want to plant something here. I want to plant this here. I want to plant that here. Now, I got small stuff right here. This is small stuff. I got watermelon in I think the first row, yeah. And then cantaloupe I got in these 2 rows, and etc. I got other stuff. And so yeah, you know, it's a decent sized garden. So that's why I got a walk behind tiller instead of one of them old crappy tillers. Once we used to have one of them old tillers where, you know, it just had twines, and, you know, you'd have to walk behind it slowly and pull it back and everything. It was a pain. Mostly what we did with that was just have like a garden with like probably about 5 rows, you know, 1 row of corn, 1 row of something else, and later on down the road, you know, we got a walk behind tiller, and we figured, oh my god, we've paid so much money for this, you know. It's kind of a waste of money just to plant this small little row with only like 10 rows in it. Let's go 50 rows. Let's go 60. So we went and did that, and that's what happened down here. And so yeah, that's why we have a huge garden, and we do benefit from it. So I mean, it will last you through the winter if you plant this whole garden, which I did. So you gotta kind of think of how much money it's gonna be, because I paid $100 for this seed right here, all these seeds. I mean, that's not even that money. That's like less than 10 bags, and that cost $100. But you know, I did buy it. It depends on where you buy it from. Walmart, and, you know, Tractor Supply, anywhere, Agra. I bought mine from a local place around here called Southern States, and I like their stuff because that's what the farmers use with their stuff, and they sell it to people who do gardens too. And so that's what I use, because hey, why not? Plus it's warranted. So, but you know, I don't know how that works out. But yeah, like I said, you get seeds, they're gonna be expensive depending on what type you use. Now the seeds I got are reassured to grow, so you know, they have a protective coating around them. That's why you saw that they were red. And let me see here, next one. That's how you're gonna want to know. Now, harvesting. When it comes to harvesting your crop, a small garden, you're probably gonna want you can either walk around with like an old Food Lion bag or something, or you can walk around it with a wheelbarrow, or not a wheelbarrow, or a wagon. You buy a little wagon, walk down the rows with it. Now with this, we used to go and we'd walk down the rows, and hey, we'd pick all the corn, throw it in the back of it. Well, as we got a little bit bigger garden, we decided, hey, we can just use bags, and we can use a cart. So I have a cart, and it's over here. I'll show you it. I'll talk on the way there. So we use a cart. We'll have it at the end of the row, and we'll have either one of us will have a bag and go down the road and pick them, and then we'll go back and throw it on the cart. Now here's the cart. It has a flat tire on both sides. The other side's a little bit fine, but it's a little flat. Yeah, you can see if you had weight pressure on it. Yeah. But yeah, this is a utility cart, my Craftsman utility cart, and it works pretty good. Just throw the bag on in there, and then boom, go on down the road with the lawnmower or anything else, or four-wheeler. And so yeah, it works pretty good. Now there's another thing you can talk about if your garden. Now there are fertilizer options. Now the smaller the garden, you probably want to talk about fertilizer. The bigger the garden, you can easily rotate it a little bit more. But you also want to increase your output of vegetables and stuff for your garden. That's when you'd probably want. What I use is good old chickens. I don't know why this is on the fence. The good old chickens, and they lay eggs. They're pretty good. We have a rooster there. He's looking all crazy and mean. So we'll get we have 4 chickens. Yes, I hear you. We have 4 chickens, and you can get how many chickens you want, and over time they'll crap all in the chicken coop. You can get it out, and you can put it in your garden. Plus they're great pest exterminators, so they love to go down the gardens. Yes, we hear you. And yeah, he wants to be known now. But be aware, they could over time eat some of the stuff. I haven't had any problems with them eating stuff out of my garden. But that's the other thing. They're kind of picky on what they eat sometimes. Like, I know in my tomato garden over here, I had them over here eating tomatoes, and I was like, all right, well, we're getting like 40 50 tomatoes a week, so that's fine. So I let them eat them, and so they'll eat the tomatoes. But it turns out, even this small little garden, they go all around. They go in the woods and everything, and it wasn't enough. So what I decided was, oh man, this isn't working out. So I got a fertilizer. Now, not a fertilizer, a pest control substance. So I got one that hooks up to a water hose and it sprays off. It's 7. I got 7, a product called 7, and I used it. It killed bugs and everything. So I got that. I sprayed it on my garden. Well, I just sprayed it on the tomatoes. The garden was fine. They go down the garden, and the garden didn't have too much pest in it. It was just the tomatoes that had the most. So I just used it on the tomatoes. That's pest control. You can get like Roundup. You can kill weeds. You can get 7 and kill other stuff. And I'd say the most one you would probably want to use, if you're in a hurry, then you'd probably want to spend money on the one that hooks up to your garden hose, like I did. But this year I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get stuff that you mix together with water and put in a sprayer. Now I have an electric sprayer, so that's what I'm going to use with this garden, is electric sprayer for fertilizer and everything. But yeah, it works pretty good. Let me see here. What else is there? I don't know. Irrigation system. Here we go. So when you're watering your garden, remember what type of water that, what type of, water system you have, well or city. Now, if city, you probably don't want that large of a garden and spend like, thousands of dollars just to have a garden, and you're just getting less than what what you would actually spend on it. So, I see a squirrel way out there in the distance. Let me see if I can get him on camera. No, he was like right in that area. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, there he is. You see him? He was like right there, like right in the center of the screen right there. It's right there. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. But yeah, irrigation system. What I use is just have like a water hose that comes on down there, comes on down the side here, goes way on down there, and goes through the rows, and has a sprayer set it up so it goes right down to the end here, right down to the other end. I usually put about 3. I'll have one over here for the light stuff that goes up in the air and shoots back and forth, and I'll have the one that goes all around in a circle over there. So they pretty much work. I mean, I'll be setting those up as soon as I get some stuff growing, and once it gets going, I don't have to worry about it destroying where the seed is. Once it gets roots, you're pretty much fine. So after that, you can set up water system, and boom, you're done. But yeah, I can't really think of anything much except for cutting around it. You see how I have my little rows right here around it? It's so I can get the cart through it and go down and pick stuff, throw it in the back of the cart. Not only that, so I can come through here with the lawnmower and cut that, and I can cut with a weed eater if I needed to. So it's very useful to have a lawnmower or a push mower or a weed eater. Plus, I go down the rows for weed control. I go down the rows with the walk behind tiller. I'll go down them and basically just destroy all the weeds, and boom, done. Also use a push mower. Push mower is probably easier. But I'd say that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any more questions about what did how you're gonna till or plant your garden, you can let me know in the comments. Like I said, it's a lot to do with a garden, especially if you plan on knowing what size it is. Now, if this, I can tell you the one real quick before it's over. I use a garden hoe and a garden rake, and what I'll do is I'll go down this row, because this is where tomatoes are. If you know anything about tomatoes, they have vines and everything, and you really can't use the tiller. So I just go in the middle of the rows and everything, and I'll go and like so, rake all the weeds out, break up the soil. It helps it. So that's pretty much what I do. And but anyway, if you have any comments or anything, like I said, feel free to ask your put your question in the comments, and I'll try my best and I'll answer it. People have their different ways and different techniques and tips and tricks of what they do with a garden. But it applies different to every person and every garden. So, but if you have any questions, put it down in the comments, and I'll try to get back to it, and I'll answer it the best way I can. But at the end of this video, so I'm gonna have to say bye. Say bye to BI. She's over there hiding. Alright, bye.